All right, we are here with a radio and TV legend. I'm really excited to talk to this guest, so let's get into it. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Moore, ex-TV producer, and I've been fangirling out a little bit because I've been listening to this lady on the radio for years, and I love what you do on the radio. This is Corey Dillon. Welcome, Corey.
Thank you, Jennifer. I mean, so nice of you, honestly, to even ask me to do this. That's awesome. I'm really excited about it. And it's kind of a boost I needed today because it's been a really insanely busy day. I don't always have those, but today was that day. I was doing everything that I usually do.
You know, I have a confession. So we have quite a few mutual friends, including Chris Ingram, who's going to be on the next episode. So I'm really jazzed about that. And I saw you were friends with him, and I was like, Corey Dillon. I've been listening to her for a very long time. I love you. I've been listening since you were on AM Tampa Bay with Jack and Ted. Mm-hmm. And I always what I liked about that show is you guys had such a great camaraderie, and the conversations were productive, and they were very you weren't people just fighting with each other. Like, you guys could have a rational discussion.
Early on, yeah, we could.
It was great. It was great. Yeah. So I am a longtime fan, and I think I tried to send you a friend request, but you had gotten too many friend requests. But I noticed every time you come, I was like, that's Corey Dillon. I'm so excited that you're here, and I want to give you, for people who are not familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what, kind of how you got into broadcasting and what sort of career path you've taken?
Yeah, I went to Washington State University, go Cougs, in Pullman, Washington, which is on the east side of the state. But it's also, I went to the broadcasting school there, which is the Edward R. Murrow School of Broadcasting, or communication, I should say. And I'm really proud of that because he is, a legend among legends in journalism. And I got my journalism degree there. But when I left college, I went to Bakersfield. I had done a couple of TV internships in Seattle at Cairo TV. And I had an opportunity, actually, or so I was told, to be an intern at Entertainment Tonight, which I thought I wanted to take the entertainment route. But I don't think they gave you a stipend. There was no way that I was going to make any money in LA. I didn't have a car. And, my parents weren't really thrilled about that.
And you need to pay your bills too. So
you need to pay your bills. And I would have been something like one of 30 interns. So that didn't happen. But I went to Bakersfield, California, one of the armpits of California, and had a TV internship there. At the same time, I was doing morning news. I was a little morning news reader at a big band radio station. I don't even think that format exists. Maybe a little bit.
Maybe there's a podcast somewhere out there for that. I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's probably one for everything.
Yeah, but it was a good experience. I was only there for 6 months, and then things started to change in the newsroom, where I was doing a little bit of field reporting, mostly still interning, and a little bit of writing. I think I tried my hand at directing one show that did not go well. It turns out I can't back time to save my life. And so I came home to Seattle and got a job producing one of the biggest morning shows in town at the time, which was the Robin and Maynard show, and also got a gig at KZOK, which right now has the morning show Danny Bonaducci from the Partridge Family back in the day. But I was also doing overnights on weekends. So I was doing, early morning producing and then staying up overnight on Friday and Saturday nights. And it was, as I like to say, turning me into Elvis, because it was trying to sleep during the day and then trying to sleep at night. And it was really crazy. But I did that for several years. And then I got a job at one of our sister stations doing middays at KISS 106.1, which was then owned by CBS, which does not exist anymore, CBS Radio. It's now Entercom Radio, since they merged last year. And I was there for over 7 years, just with that company in those two roles. And then right before 9/11, I lost my job. And it took me about 10 months, and I landed in Tampa. So I've been here since May of 2002, almost 16 years, which blows my mind. I worked for WPOI, which at the time was an 80s oldies format. I didn't think of it as really oldies at the time, but it is now. And I was there for 9.5 years, and then they flipped formats and showed me the door. 6 months later, I went to WFLA, which I think some people were a little surprised, but with my journalism background, I mean, I think I was the only one on that morning show that had a journalism degree, frankly. And I was there for about 4 years before they moved me up the hall to mix. And I was there for about 8 months, successful. I mean, we doubled the ratings in just 8 months, but they decided to flip to syndication. And again, I was shown the door. So, but I have to say that I kind of, well, I wasn't really, I was expecting it. Let's put it that way. And I saw a lot of things changing in the radio industry and broadcasting. I mean, anyone in radio or TV will tell you things have changed a lot. As far as freedoms to be you, to talk for longer than 10 to 30 seconds. So I had been planning for years. I mean, this goes back 6 or 7 years. I started taking voice acting lessons from a well-renowned coach in LA. I recorded a professional demo, and I've been doing a lot of that on the side, now full time, for about 1.5 years, while still trying to look at radio jobs that exist few and far between, and television and social media and, vlogging and podcasting, and just trying to do it all,
There is so much, there's so much out there. It's crazy,
right.
Just, and the job responsibilities that come with being a broadcaster are like, they're great. And it seems like the workload is always expanding, now you have to tweet, now you have to do a podcast, now you have to, tape this for someone else. Like you have to tape ads.
Right.
There's a lot of work that goes into radio and broadcasting that I think people don't really understand.
Right. They think you're just, 4 hours and you hit the door. And hey, it used to be kind of like that. And your show prep was your life. Like, what were you doing once you left the station and, up until when you came into the station? But today, like I just saw one of my former colleagues, and they have now decided that, one of the formats that's taking off around the country is old school hip hop or old school R&B. And so they now have her, she's doing afternoons on a hip hop station, and now she's recording middays on their HD2 channel. And I don't know if there are any ads on it. I don't know if she's compensated. I don't know if she gets any bonus money. But they're probably going to start to monetize it, so.
Well, that's so interesting. So what originally drew you to the field of broadcasting? Is it something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, in college, I remember they offered the LSAT for free, and I used to be sort of fascinated with law and broadcasting, and I don't know if that has more to do with public speaking and being dramatic, but I didn't really, I don't love tests and testing, so I decided not to take the LSAT for whatever reason. And broadcasting was fun. I just, I would listen to broadcasters and just thought, I could do that. I think I could do that. It had nothing to do with the tone of my voice. And in fact, the way radio and podcasting is going, I mean, look at Serial, that podcast, the way that podcast sounded to somebody like me as a broadcaster kind of goes against all the rules. Yeah. I mean, it sounded like she was reading, which you're told in voice acting and in radio. It's like, no, you're not supposed to sound like you're reading. So it's just, what's happening is just really interesting to me. And, we'll see where it goes. I mean, I think you're right. There's so much opportunity out there, but what a lot of people don't realize or know, because some people have said to me, why don't you do a podcast? Yeah. And I said, well, actually I did one. It's just a very difficult thing to monetize. I mean, I know that there are obviously some people that have done it. When we had our podcast, it was a great idea, I think. And we had a lot of fun doing it. It was with a local comedy club in town. And so we had traveling stand-up comics, national acts like Chris Kattan coming through town, and he would sit down and, eat and drink with us, and we'd do a podcast. It was great. I loved it. But the owner of the club, I don't think he saw the big picture. And I tried to tell him, podcasting is big, it's growing. And, he just wanted to see it translate into ticket sales. And I'm like, this is not nobody's an overnight success. Yeah. I mean, it's something that needs to be nurtured. And, I guess he just didn't see it that way. And so the podcast ended. And, but at the time I remember contacting Podcast One, for instance, one of the bigger promoters of podcasts. And they said, they have like Snooki and all these people that already have this notoriety. And they said, well, as soon as you have like 30,000 downloads per episode, give us a call. I'm like, oh my God.
Like, I would love to have 30,000 downloads.
Yeah, we're not close. I mean, so in other words, you can't rely on anybody else to make you a success. You have to do it yourself. And, if you can build it, then they will come. But until then,
Corey, you have such a very distinctive voice, and that's what I enjoyed about you when I originally discovered you. How do you feel like you developed that on-air persona? Like, do you have tips for someone, or like, what did you do to get there?
Well, I mean, if there's any encouragement I was ever given, it was really to try to be yourself. And that's easier said than done, because I think, a lot of people, you put a camera in front of them or a microphone in front of them, and they become somebody else. And it is a super old school way of doing things. I mean, the people that I have worked with as co-hosts, I don't think that they're not who they really are on the air. And I think people get confused because they think they are. But, and ultimately maybe they didn't like who I was on the air. So I don't know. It's really hard. And, I've been asked to go speak at schools to talk to kids about, getting into broadcasting. And I don't know what to say to them, because my path is not going to be their path, because there's so much syndication. There are fewer jobs. There aren't overnight shows where you can sort of learn the radio ropes. It's really a challenge. I mean, and that's why I've done all the free stuff, because I needed to learn on the job too,
Yeah, and that's one thing. So you were telling me, so you've done some TV, you did a gig with WFLA with the daytime show, and you did the TMZ show as well to get you some national exposure.
Right.
I think that's something people on the outside looking in might not understand, is that you're doing a lot of work, and a lot of it, is for free. A lot of people in this business, they feel the need, and they kind of have to do these gigs for free in order to get other jobs, in order to build their brand. And it's a very tough thing to do.
Yeah. And I would say, some of the regrets I have are, I thought, for instance, when I was with WFLA and sort of starting my voiceover business or career, I remember being approached by a station in Reading, UK, and the rates that they were paying to do some radio imaging were pretty low. I mean, compared to what they are in the States, I think it was like £50 maybe, or $50 per page, which is maybe a quarter or less of what the going rate is. And so I said no because of the price. I was like, and once the exchange rate, but I should have done it, because then I would have had this track record already of doing radio imaging. And actually I had another offer from a station, a pretty big station in Minneapolis, KS95. That guy asked me if I wanted to audition, but it was for a different radio company than iHeartRadio. And at the time I thought my boss would never say, why would he say yes to that? It's a competing radio company. And then once I found the gumption to actually ask my boss, hey, could I do this? He said, yeah, I don't care, as long as it's, not competing with us in the market or whatever it was. And so I emailed the program director back at that station, and they had already found somebody. So it didn't work out, but again, those are the regrets I have, not sort of when those opportunities presented themselves to ask, or just do it and just figure it out later. I mean, I didn't need the $50. Could I have used it? Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm not going to turn down $50, but at the same time, I just thought, well, I don't know, that might be cheapening my brand or something, but considering it was something I didn't really have much experience in, I should have done it.
How do you feel about, there's all these sites popping up, the gig sites like Fiverr, where people are doing voiceovers for like $5.
Yeah.
As a radio person and voice talent, how do you feel about those sorts of platforms?
Well, and I've been sort of enticed by those sites and worked with some people that have shown me their PayPal account, frankly, and how much money they're making producing videos that, they're a little low end, to be honest with you. And so I've struggled with that because, it's a quick buck, but I can tell you as it relates to voiceover in particular, it's frowned upon. It's frowned upon in a big way because it cheapens what we do. I mean, the equipment you have to buy, which it's not exorbitant. I mean, my microphone is my microphone and my laptop are the two most expensive things. And those two total about $2,000. But the rest of the equipment, couple $100, and then, maybe join a pay to play site and you're in business. But the coaching and the demo tapes. And I spent on my demo reel and coaching, I'm sure I spent probably close to $10,000 over a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. It's an investment. And so, and again, it's frowned upon, by agents, by your fellow talent, that if you do something like that, yeah, you may make money, but you're bringing down the rates for other people, and you're sort of cheapening your brand and everybody else's brand.
Yeah,
do what you got to do to feed your family, but
I definitely think those types of platforms almost kind of devalue your work, and it also undercuts professionals like you. If someone's charging $5 and you're charging $500, they're going to go with the $5 person because it's cheaper. I do think there's something to say about that. You get what you pay for,
right?
But people are cheap and they don't want to pay a lot of money for services. Like, I guess the same thing with the YouTube stuff. I'm a professional TV producer. I have a lot of experience that a lot of the people on YouTube don't.
Mm-hmm.
But, I constantly get hit up for doing videos in exchange for free products, or doing video, like for something that's like insanely low. And I think one guy I started following, you should definitely check him out. His name is Roberto Blake.
Okay.
And he really has a lot of videos about how not to be a starving artist, and also how to have people value you as a creator and pay you what you're worth. He's done some very, very interesting videos. And like, for instance, a lot of people will try to pay an influencer, $200 for a video.
Mm-hmm.
And if that same company was to hire a model for not even making videos, but just to stand there and model, they would pay them like $400 for half a day.
Right.
So you get into stuff like that where, they're like, again, you're paying someone $200 to produce an entire video and be the talent, and yet you're going to pay a model just to be the talent more. There's some stuff in this business that's not making a lot of sense.
Right.
And it's making it hard for people like you and me to make a living.
Right. And that's the thing with the Fiverr, the guys that were producing videos. This guy had built out a studio with a green screen in his one-car garage. And it was very nice. I can't imagine. I think I want to say he said he spent about $25,000 doing all that. And, he showed me his bank account, and he was making lots of money doing these videos, but I think he was charging on average like $600 to $800. And that is below the going rate. You should kind of know, again, what is your time worth and your expense. And, I don't know. It's a debate. I guess everybody has to decide for themselves, is it worth it?
It almost seems like they're doing this for the short term, but long term, this hurts the business.
Yeah.
I deal the same thing with I quilt and sew.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of money people think quilts are worth are in, like they'll offer to pay you $200 for a quilt. Quilts can take months or years to make.
Right.
And to make it a sustainable business, you'd have to charge a few $1,000s. But people are so used to paying $50 at Walmart for a comforter that they won't. It's such an, it's something I struggle with. It's, because we're all kind of tempted, like, would I rather get $50 or nothing?
Right.
But on the flip side, overall, the more people that accept less money, that becomes the new standard. And then people are expecting to pay that much. It's so, I don't know, that's something that kind of keeps me up at night, is thinking about just valuing creators as valuing artists.
Well, and that's something that comes up on the voiceover, pages, I guess you'd say, on Facebook. And people were like, oh, I have clients, or what was the saying? It was something like, I have people that will do it for less. And the comeback was, well, I have clients who pay more.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Like you said, you get what you pay for. And if that's the kind of product and brand that you're building, that's all you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
My goal is, I would love to have a commercial in the Super Bowl. Are you kidding me? That's really the goal. Or to be the next voice of the Oscars or whatever. But Randy, oh gosh, I'm spacing out right now on her last name. Randy, I can't remember. But she's amazing, and she's done the Oscars and, Academy Awards, I should say, for years, and Entertainment Tonight, and these people have a brand to protect, and it sucks. But I've done the same thing with radio. When I left Cox Radio and went to iHeart, I took less money, and I shouldn't have. I regret that a lot. I should have just said, nope, I'm sorry. But you fear plays a role.
Yeah. Oh,
I would definitely recommend don't do that because then, guess what? You're treated differently too. If you don't value yourself, they're not going to value you ultimately either.
No, that's such good advice. And I want to talk about radio changes. You were in the business for quite a long time, and you're still kind of in and out of it. What kind of changes have you seen in the radio business since you started, and where do you see it going in the future?
It's hard. I mean, I see them. I mean, despite the fact I've been a radio morning host or co-host for 15 years, but I see them, they really, some of the guys in charge, and there are women CEOs, of course, but I don't know that they're necessarily in charge of programming. And they just tend to think of like having a male lead and then a female sidekick. They're sort of stuck in these roles, that they want everyone to play. Female midday host, afternoon guy. And some of these roles, like there was a job in Chicago I was very interested in to join a morning show that doesn't now exist anymore. But the guy that was in charge of that, he was the format lead from this particular company. He said, yeah, and I really want to hire a female, not to play the female role or whatever, but I guess he just wanted a female voice in the show. But then they were telling my agents that I don't know if we want somebody in radio. We want somebody who's a comedian, a stand-up comedian. And I just see that happening. They're either hiring from within, they're putting out the ads and talking to people, but then they hire from within, or they're hiring women in particular that are just like big social media stars or maybe have a TV career.
Like, hey, they already have 3 million Instagram followers, so this will help us. Or they have a big Facebook page. And it is funny to see how your social media following, your personal brand is really starting to help you or hurt you get jobs now.
Right. Well, and I have to say that in particular it was a few years ago. I was at a friend of mine. He's a radio executive with Cumulus Radio, and I was at his house, and I don't even remember how it came up. I mean, I think maybe I was looking for a job at the time. I don't remember, or had started to look, and I expected the question to be, well, what are your ratings? Mm-hmm. But because that's what it used to be. It was like, how's your show doing? How are the ratings? Because that usually translates into sales. But instead of asking me that question, he said, how many followers do you have? And I went, whoa, you care about that? I had no idea that this was the new benchmark for them. And so it's been a little frustrating to me to see people in this market and everywhere else buy followers, because I'm like, you're a local radio talent. I'm sorry, but you don't have 80,000 followers on Twitter. You don't. I know you don't.
And actually buying them, you can get kicked off the platform if they find out you're buying followers.
But these people have been actually verified. And I know it's not, it's not
like on YouTube, if they find out you buy views, you can have your channel terminated.
Wow.
Like there's some terms of service in there, and they don't want artificial stuff like that. So what those people are doing, they're potentially in danger of, and if advertisers like it's very common in the blogging world, if advertisers find out your views are not organic, they won't work with you. They will not work with you.
It seems obvious to me that these people have bought them, because again, I'm like, you're a local talent and you have 80,000 followers. You don't. You just don't. It seems so obvious and apparent to me, but I've seen them on TV bragging about it. I'm like, oh my God, wow.
How do you feel like social media has changed the face of broadcasting?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's changing it in a lot of ways. Facebook in particular, I've become sort of a big Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh my gosh, me too.
And so, Facebook, it's not just social media anymore. I accepted my first payment for a job that I recorded via Facebook. And it was as simple as you get an email saying, hey, he sent you money. All he must have done is just put in his banking information, and that's all I had to do to collect it. It was so simple. It was crazy to me. Now it's a place where we shop. It's a search tool for us to find people and places and things. It's where we get our news. It's where we're fighting about politics. It's where we're, blocking stalkers. it's our lives now. It's not just where we go to see what our friends are doing. It's not that at all. And and I'm sure that they've started. I haven't seen any of this yet, but they've, I guess, like paid the Kardashians or whatever, somebody to have a Facebook Live. And so, there's more programming that's coming down the pike with that. And right now, as Gary Vee says, the price to advertise on Facebook is worth it. And I've dabbled a little bit in that, just to kind of see how it works and play with it. Cause I'm kind of an early adopter and I've tried all these things and it's been a struggle for me to learn some of these things, but I fight through it, sometimes with a glass of wine. It's like, oh, this is impossible. But I wanted to see what it did. I don't know if it's translated into any dollars or if my voiceover business is just kind of growing organically. I mean, I just came from a session, I just left there like at 3:00 today, to come home and to talk to you. But I was at West End, which is a great studio in Tampa. I mean, everyone, I should say, from John Cena to, other wrestlers that I'm not super familiar with. But Nancy Cartwright, who does the voice of Bart Simpson, when she's here to, visit the Scientology Center.
Does she live in Tampa or?
No, but I think, one of the Scientology centers is in Clearwater. Mm-hmm. So when she's here, she's there. And I know that they've worked with John Travolta. Wow. It's West End / Mach 1. There's 2 studios in there, run by a couple of different guys. But yeah, so it's just, I don't know. It's like I said, things are just sort of falling into place. And I don't, they say 80% is marketing and 20% is the actual work for whatever industry you're in. And so, I don't know. I don't know if it's just sort of slowly building and just getting to know who needs, voiceover services or social media services, but also telling them what you do and what you can offer them, because, they can't hire you if they don't even know that you do this kind of work, so that's why I've, built up my website and continue to do stuff on social media and try the podcasting or work in social media or do videos for people and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Do you have a favorite social media platform? It kind of sounds like Facebook, maybe.
Well, I mean, Facebook, it used to be, a lot of the political stuff and the gun battles and a lot, I will say, when I got to WFLA, I think I only had like 600, and it was early on, it was, I guess this was like 7 years ago. I started at WFLA in December of 2011. So yeah, like 7 years ago. Social media was kind of new. And people hadn't really started using it to the level that they are today. I did love it, but I'm not posting every day like I used to. But I try to make them more quality post versus quantity at this point. But, as Gary Vee says, you can't post enough, obviously.
Yeah, that guy is going bonkers with the content. And I saw a speech he did a keynote at his event, like Agent 2021 or something.
Okay.
And he was talking all about how in the future, he's like, you have to realize, he's like, you are not in a business, you are a media outlet. No. Right. And I was like, that's a really good way to put it. And he's like, in the future, everyone's going to hire it. Like, so for those of you who don't know, he actually hires a videographer to follow him around and document everything he does for vlogs. Yeah. And then he takes all that content and he's kind of a mastermind of taking content and spinning it into all different types of content.
Right.
He'll take the text, he'll transcribe his conversation, make it a blog post. He does all those shareable Facebook videos. He's got it's insane. And he's like, you know what? He's like, I have not had to sell a single book, which is interesting because he's been putting out so much content, and I'm inspired by that. It's a lot of work. Yeah. And I do think there's a lot of people who they want to get there, but they're not willing to do that. But whole, I'm willing to outwork all of y'all.
Well,
and it's interesting to see him actually accomplish these things.
Right. Well, and I think I probably got off track there, but you were saying like, how is it affecting the radio business or media business? I mean, it is because, where his big thing is, where's the attention? Yeah. Where is everybody's attention? People might listen to the radio now. Nobody buys radios anymore. Their big hope is that these in-home artificial intelligence, Alexa, Google Home speakers are what's going to bring the radio back into people's homes. They've got a real challenge on their hands with millennials who, don't necessarily even care about these speakers. Everything that millennials do right here on this thing, and Generation Z or whatever they're called after millennials.
Are you excited? Because Gary Vaynerchuk is very excited about voice, and that's your thing. So does that excite you?
I even tweeted to him about that. I was like,
yes, finally.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I am. And, right now it's about throwing a lot at the wall and just seeing what sticks. And, I'm plugging away at voiceover, and doing more TV and national exposure. And I realized, I think with one of my iPhone updates, it signed me out of Skype. So I realized I missed like 6 calls over the last few months from TMZ Live. I'm like, sorry, guys.
Oh, no.
Oh, I know.
I'm like, stupid phone.
I just thought they were done with me. I thought they were like, see ya. But yeah, so hopefully I'll be on again on Friday. But yeah, I mean, it's changing because where everyone's attention, where they get their entertainment, whether it's music. I mean, I have a little sis with the Big Sis, Little Sis program. And, I ask my nieces, where do you guys get your music? It's either YouTube or Spotify or whatever. They're just, millennials don't even really want to own cars. Like, they don't have that.
They're not like us. It's
right.
It's a different world. It's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, Gary Vee's advice to advertise on Facebook is great advice, actually. And it's advice I spoke at a West Shore Tampa Rotary Club meeting today. As I said, I'm like, I'm not really a public speaker, so this is a little nerve-wracking for me. I know that's ironic considering I speak for a living, but I'm usually hiding behind a microphone. So, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely changing. There's another company in Tampa, I guess I'll name drop, and they're called the Penny Hoarder. It was started by...
I have some friends who work there.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I would love to work there.
Yeah.
But I think...
We'll talk later.
Yeah, I think what this guy, Kyle Taylor, is doing, he's a CEO, young, but he started it because he was $50,000 in financial or school aid debt, right? And so he started this anonymous blog, and it's taken off. And what I can see what he's doing, and I think it's really ingenious. It's almost, I think, sort of like the Huffington Post for millennials.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of financial advice about how to make more money in this gig economy, which is what I like to, these days I consider myself a gig economy ninja. I'm like doing this and doing that, whatever it takes to build my brand and get work and just further this business that I've started offering, multimedia platforms, things that I can do on TV, on the microphone, and just with social media and things I've learned. And, I just think, Facebook is still where everybody really is, with the dust up with their privacy concerns. I haven't seen droves of people quitting. I haven't lost more than a few friends on Facebook. I mean, that could have been for something else, who knows? But I just, people are still there, and now because we've so integrated them into our lives, trying to sell things, trying to buy things, making money, selling our business, just corresponding with family and friends. It's just not going away.
No.
And there's 2 billion people on it now.
Exactly. And that's, I think for us as broadcasters to think about the golden days and be like, we're never going to go back there.
Yeah.
It's just, what are we going, I think about this often, what are we going towards? What is going to be the thing that we're doing in 10 years? And I don't know. I think about this a lot, and I'm like, there's a lot that excites me. And I think the thing that excites me as a TV person is, and I was talking to a couple of TV reporter friends, you being able to have a YouTube channel and being able to have a video platform without a TV station is a game changer for me. I was used to working for other people and doing stories that I was told to do. And now I'm able to do whatever types of video I want, whatever type of content. And it's a very freeing experience. That feeling I got as a young journalist, I get it now with YouTube, but it's just on a different level. But okay, so I want to ask you, what is your favorite topic to talk about? And what's if you could create a dream job for yourself, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, and along the way, there have been several of them. I mean, I would love to be a co-host on a radio show that's, really about life, and I'm sort of obsessed with relationships. Why do they work? Why don't they work? And I'm not just talking even romantic relationships. I mean, I have 5 siblings and 5 nieces and nephews and my parents. And, I mean, I don't know. I think that's the thing, just kind of plugging along and making our lives work and being happy. I just think that's really interesting. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I would love to do more of that. And I liked working on AM Tampa Bay when it was about Tampa Bay, living our lives and enjoying that. But it just, I don't know, at some point it became about something else. And it just, I didn't find the joy in it anymore at all.
And sometimes that happens with jobs. We could go to, this happens to a lot of us. You go into one job and you're excited about it and it's cool.
Right.
And sometimes you grow out of it. Sometimes it doesn't fit you anymore. So, I mean, that definitely happens. Okay. So, and the other thing I want to ask you, what was the question? Oh, have you ever seen the Joe Rogan podcast?
I think I've seen, I remember Joe Rogan from years ago when he had hair. And I've seen it once or twice, and I know Gary Vee's been on there. I haven't listened to that one or watched it.
That dude is interesting.
He's still one of the most successful podcasts out there.
It's
views and money,
It is kind of crazy to see how, Joe Rogan from News Radio and from Fear Factor was able to leverage his fame into something in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
So he has these guests on. His podcasts are like 3 hours long, some of them.
I know, which is
there. And I will watch.
That goes against but that goes against what most people will tell you is working. They're like no longer than 10 to 20 minutes. And my podcast used to be like, we were there for like an hour, and that was edited. I'm like,
and I just love what he's doing with the podcast. So many people are watching it. And I also like this whole trend about with this, what we're doing here, I'm going to cut the video for YouTube and then rip the audio for the podcast. I like having those options.
Right.
Because if I'm home and I want to watch video, I watch the video. If I'm getting ready for something, or in the car, then I can listen to the podcast.
Right.
But I love, I'm so hot on podcasts. I listen and watch them all day long.
Right. Because it is sort of interesting, and that's why I always liked doing, radio in general, because I felt when radio was at its best, it was like eavesdropping on a conversation. You sort of get engrossed, if it's interesting conversation. But I don't know. It's interesting to me to see what's happening in radio. And, I don't know what the future of radio is. I can tell you there's a lot of competition out there. It's not just, people are like, oh, are they, is it, family members think it's dying or friends think it's dying. And the radio industry will tell you, no, we're not dying. We listen to more than ever and everything. But, I know millennials don't get their music that way. And people don't listen to the radio like my parents do, for instance. They will turn the radio on and listen for hours. It just doesn't happen that way really anymore. So I think the spoken word is sort of where it's going. I don't know. We'll see. I think radio is trying to figure out radio still right now. So I don't know. I don't know where or when or if that next big job is coming, or if it's going to be with a different company that like the Penny Hoarder that is doing things a little differently. They're a media company, and they're the fastest growing private media company, at least in the state of Florida. I know, maybe period. I know they've been mentioned in Inc. 5000 and things like that. It's really an interesting time to be figuring out, where that platform is that's going to take off with you on it,
Yeah. All right. So in the broadcasting world, who do you look up to as far as being the best broadcasters of all time?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. Let me ruminate on that one.
And to be honest with you, I've actually listened to, people that people probably wouldn't expect. I've listened to Howard Stern,
Mm-hmm. Of course. Yeah.
Some of these people, they're just, they're so talented at what they do, just at talking to people and interviewing. It's just incredible. I love listening to people. I could also see you doing something where you are the voice of a mapping app or something
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that app HQ Trivia?
Yeah.
That guy plummeted. That guy just rocketed to fame in a few weeks.
Wasn't there some issue there with that app or I can't remember what happened.
HQ Trivia is this app that it's like a live trivia game.
Right. You can win money, right?
Yeah, you can win real money, and it's not like so basically it's 12 questions, and they do it like I kind of did it for a while, and then I didn't have, I kind of was like, oh, the novelty's over,
Right.
like most people. But this guy Scott Rogowski he makes this app, so he's like the one who asks the questions, but he's very like quick-witted. He always has like funny puns, and he quickly became like, like
Star.
they try. Yeah, like he was like, it was not even just about the trivia, it was him. Yeah. So he like, people love him on Twitter. So he did some article with some sort of publication, and it wasn't anything like, he didn't say anything controversial, but the creator of the app like said some really weird things about it, like, and then he was like not on the broadcast, so people thought like he gotten fired or something. Like this guy was whoever created the app like made it sound like this guy doing the interview was like the worst thing ever. But then now they're totally cool, allegedly. I don't know, wow. But it was funny. And when they tried, like, I mean, this show is every twice a day.
Okay.
And, so you think like, this guy needs to get like 2 days off, but when he's not there, people get very upset. Like if it's somebody else. And
I think I put that app on my phone, but yeah. I haven't tried it or I haven't played it.
That guy is like reasoning up. You're like, this guy is awesome. He's got a powerhouse voice. He's really funny, and he's like very like goofy.
Yeah.
And before that, he was like a struggling comedian. Like he didn't, I guess in another article I read, he was going to move out of New York and move to LA and try some stuff. And then he happened to get that job, and it like,
right.
lit a fire. So it's funny how that like one little thing, you're like, oh, this probably won't be anything. Like that's now, like he is now the HQ trivia guy.
Well, and it's, I mean, as far as, we were talking about know your value and whatever, as far as voiceover goes, the voice of Siri, which was really our first artificial intelligence, right? Susan Bennett is her real name. And she famously didn't know the usage of what she was recording. I don't know how long it took her to record everything that she had to record. I don't know how much she was paid, but she was grossly underpaid. I mean, can you imagine? Her voice is globally heard. And there are other people that did it in other countries, I guess. But I mean, her voices are heard by millions and millions and millions of people. And I mean, I have no idea what she was paid, but I know that it wasn't enough. And that was a little slick, I think, on the part of Apple to do that.
I also did not know what you were recording it for. Like, where am I gonna?
Well, because it was unheard of. I mean, nobody knew what artificial intelligence really was. I mean, the average Joe didn't know. I didn't know. Who could have even imagined that? Now you've got Cortana, you've got Alexa, and I'm happy that all these voices are female.
Yeah, there needs to be a Corey maybe you could make your own Corey version, and then it'll, you'll be turning off my lights for me or something.
Well, I'll tell you what, my niece goes to Brown University, and her boyfriend is kind of brilliant. He's had an internship with Uber. He had one with Snapchat last summer, and that's what he does. He like designs apps, and I don't know, he's kind of brilliant. I'm like, score.
Maybe we can do an app for you. The Corey app.
I know.
Like, I was watching, do you ever watch the show Suits on USA?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I know who's on it though, Meghan Markle.
So there is this, there was a joke on the show, there's this character named Donna, and Donna always has like a quick comeback.
Yeah.
So somebody made a Donna device, and basically like the thing that you want to say but can't, she says it for you, like snappy comebacks or like, snarky things. Maybe that could be like your thing, the Corey Dillon device.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows? I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, I'm about to sell my house, and people are like, "Where are you going to live? What are you going to do?" I'm like, I don't know, but I can tell you that, I stressed about that for a long time. I was very upset because I've lived in this house for 14 years, but the time is right to sell it, and I feel like I need to take a big risk and make a leap and take some of that equity and just sort of live and see what comes my way, because, I've been living in the same place for 14 years. And I watched this TED Talk, and this gal, she's a professor. I don't recall where, but the title of the TED Talk was "Your biggest opportunity is going to come from somebody you haven't met yet." So I'm like, all right, that's probably true. I mean, there may be some opportunity. Who knows? Maybe it's a game show hostess or whatever. It's just some way that I can use these broadcasting and social media and voiceover skills that I've been developing for a while, a long time. I don't know. I don't know what that is going to look like. And maybe, nobody can tell me until it happens. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just hopeful that the right thing will present itself at the right time.
That is super exciting. And I just sold my house too. The prices are great right now. So yeah. And in fact, after I sold my house in 2 days.
Wow. Where are you in Georgia right now?
I'm in Atlanta. Yeah. And actually I used to live in St. Pete, and I love Florida. My husband really wants to go back there. So hopefully someday we'll make it back there.
Is that where you bought the like $50,000 house?
That is the $47,000 house. Yeah. And our realtor, our realtor is an awesome lady. I think she was like, what are these people doing? Like, why are they doing this? It was in 2009. So like the market was very low.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that I want to tell people that are like, that want to make a change in their life, but don't know how or don't think they can, is you might have to sacrifice some of your personal comfort or some of your stuff in order to get there. We're very cheap. Again, I lived without
frugal. I like to say frugal, Jennifer.
I lived without kitchen counters for a year. Like that house was not like, that was not like anybody's dream house. And that's kind of the way we've been looking at it, is this is not like this apartment here. This is not our permanent home. The house we just sold, not our permanent home. We don't really get attached to the houses just because we're like, this is something we're going to sell.
Right.
And we're going to keep doing that. So that's how we were able to get out of debt. That's how we've been able to save more money, is just by, my husband's very handy, and he just,
that's good to have one of those.
Oh my gosh. That's one of those qualities in a guy where you're like, I didn't know I needed or wanted that. And that's like when I was dating, and, I was like a really bad dater, by the way. When I was, meeting guys, like that's not a quality where I would be like, yeah, I really want a handy guy, like that it's like, is he cute?
Wasn't hot on your list.
Yeah. But now that I'm married to someone who is, I'm like, you have no idea. Like, I'm like, I had no idea how much of a godsend that is to have someone who can fix a tire, who can figure things out. Right. He can look at anything and figure it out.
He's not helpless. Right?
Yeah. Like he's someone, he knows how to sew. He made his own jeans. Like,
oh my gosh, wow. That's beyond just handy.
He cuts my hair actually. So like it's crazy. And he's, you'd be like, he's very secure in his masculinity as well.
That is a Renaissance man right there. If he can cut your hair and change a tire.
Andy,
you have a brother?
He's a real chef. So I'm like, so I feel like I hit but those qualities of being able to fix, and his other talent that I think is like really weird and cool is that when we were looking for houses, he can immediately look at pictures of a house or go inside a house and find all the problems. Wow. Even if they're like not apparent, he'll be like, that house has mold issues. That house has termites. And that's the thing with buying a cheap house like that is, I think flipping is a very dangerous thing. And I don't recommend it to a lot of people.
Right.
You have to be more than casually handy. You can't be like this. You can't just be a DIYer to do it. You have to really know about structural integrity of the homes and be able to solve kind of complex problems.
Otherwise, you're going to lose all your money.
Yeah, you're going to lose all your money. And if you have to hire out the work, you're not going to make anything. So the only reason we were able to make money on that house is because we really didn't hire out hardly any of, I think we hired a guy to put in new windows, and we hired somebody to paint it, and hired someone to tend it for termites. But if you cannot do plumbing, electrical, more like complex things, it's probably not something you can do long-term. And that's something people watch those shows on HGTV and they're like, I could totally do this, but there's a lot of risk involved and you can lose your shirt. So it's something that's why we also chose a house that was very low priced, was that, if something did happen, we're not losing a $300,000 house. There's a lot of dangers with that, but my husband has this ability. He can go into any house and he's better than a home inspector.
Yeah.
He can go into any house and tell you what's wrong with it, and also do the math in his head on how much it would be. Like, is it worth it? Or, we went to a lot of houses in St. Pete that were not worth it because we're like, the price is good on paper, but the cost to fix it and the unknowns is too great.
Right.
But yeah, St. Pete was a great, great market for us. And that's why I think Florida real estate, again, if there's another dip in the market too, that would be an opportunity to buy, I think.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that I'm selling at the height of the market, but it's probably got a little ways to go, but.
And my husband has met quite a few people that, he met one guy kind of recently, and this guy did real estate for a living. And what this guy did was, during the market downturn, he took all the cash he could get and bought property and turned it into rentals. And now he's doing okay. In fact, my own stepdad, my stepdad is like extremely frugal, but in a way where, that's why he has money now. And he had one deal, I can't remember the exact numbers, but he bought farmland in the 70s and everyone thought he was crazy.
Oh, wow.
And he turned it around for an insane turnaround.
Well, I can't remember who said it first, but as my dad used to remind me, he said, buy land. They're not making any more of it. But the problem is that, so my house is 90 years old this year, and I've owned it for 14 years. And, in Florida, I have a yard I don't ever use, so it's just a chore for me, basically, to clean it up or spruce it up and, to stage it. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking I might move to a condo.
Well, I've got a great realtor for you if you need one.
Okay. Well, I don't right now. Okay. I tried to work with a friend. That did not work out at all. You wonder what could go wrong? Everything can go wrong. And you don't really know if your friends are competent until you work with them or if they're really friends, but I found my sister is a realtor in Seattle. That housing market is insane. So many people are priced out of that market. The median price of a house is $700,000.
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. It's not quite that in Tampa Bay, but, happily chumming along. And I live in the old Northeast for right now. And I love downtown St. Pete. I don't know. I don't really want to leave unless I'm leaving the market to take a job somewhere. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm not sure.
I think the St. Pete area is fantastic. The downtown area is definitely
booming,
very cool and very hip. And the other thing I liked about Florida was that the cost of living was pretty reasonable. Yeah. There are no state income taxes, and the housing market has been a little up and down, but at the same time, it's still, I think it's definitely cheaper to live in Florida than it is in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I also, experienced some of that bump in the road with real estate. I used to have a condo that was my investment property, but it didn't turn out that way because I bought it in I can't remember if I bought it, I think in 2007. Oops. And the market crashed and it was worth half what I paid for it. And it still hasn't come back. And,
wow.
Live and learn. That's why I'm like, well, I tried real estate investing. It maybe is not for me. So I'll just buy a nicer place for myself to live in going forward. So,
well, I'm very excited for it. Okay. So I want to ask you this. If you were 22 now and just graduating college, what do you think you would do to get into broadcasting? Where do you think?
Well, and I was just thinking about that because, as far as what advice I give people, and I gave it to my cousin's son. I don't know what that makes him to me, but I've known him since he was a baby. And, he had an interest in it, and his dad was kind of trying to talk to me about it. And I said, Matt, here's what you do. Start a podcast.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're going to get any experience. And you never know, they might hit on something that's a huge success. I don't know what that would be, but, do whatever you want to do. And that's how you're going to learn. But he never did it. It's like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah, the path to success it's funny that the path to success for broadcasting people now is much different than our route to success. Now you don't, if someone starts a YouTube channel, you could make a living on it.
Right.
Without ever getting hired and I've had a lot of people hit me up on LinkedIn, like, I'm really looking for a reporter job or an MMJ job. And I was like, are you making YouTube content now? Like, what are you, you're in college, you want to be on TV. You don't need someone to put you on TV anymore. Like, that's this whole attitude. Like, I need someone to give me a job to do this.
Right. Or they think they're a star and they just need to be discovered. I'm like, well, what qualifies you? Have you done it? Do it. Go do it. If you say you can do it, talk is cheap. Go do it. Whatever it is. It's so easy because of, again, this thing right here. Anybody can record a video. Anybody can edit a video. And these are some of the things that I've taught myself how to do. And that has helped me at least have a shot at getting some of these TV jobs or whatever it is that I've been applying for. I don't even know how many things I have applied for, but the right thing just hasn't come along yet.
Now,
I don't know.
How did you end up at HSN?
Years ago, I think it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know if that was when I was self-employed the last time. Actually, that time I was unemployed. This time I'm self-employed. I did audition. They had sort of an open casting call, but what helped me is the woman that was my co-host. She's a dear friend of mine. I met her at a party and we just hit it off. And I had been thinking about doing this podcast, which I called Mouthful, because we were eating, drinking, and laughing with these comedians and other celebrities that were coming through town or already here. And we just hit it off. And she's wild. She's been doing TV for many years at the PBS station here, but also HSN for, I think, the last 3 to 5. And so she's the one that told me really what they're looking for and how to do this. And because I had this audition tape that I had made, compiling all these different things I'd done on camera with TMZ and WFLA daytime TV, she really helped introduce me to the right people who then gave me a shot, and I've only been on the air, I don't know, not even a half a dozen times yet. But hopefully I've got another show coming up someday soon. We'll see. But I don't know. It's a crazy, crazy train over there, jumping on, jumping off.
Yeah. Do you like it so far?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of people in radio think voiceover, and I was one of those people. I just thought, oh, whatever. Some people tell me they like my voice, so I should be a big hit. But it's totally different. I mean, it is voice acting. It's not radio where you're yourself and, where you should be yourself and you're putting on this show. And then HSN, you are a salesperson.
Yeah.
You are talking about the benefits and features of all these different products. And I'm lucky to be in the tech category. So I've been able to sell things that are honestly, I think, making people's lives better and easier. And I think they're great products.
Well, it sounds like that's something you're interested in. You like technology. You seem to really like the, finding out about the newest thing and sharing it with people.
I don't think I just want to, I guess, let people know that it doesn't all come easy to me. Yeah. I mean, in this term of self-employment, I could see that, one of the things that was starting to populate on Facebook was videos, and self-made videos and those kinds of things. So I had a friend who's a professional videographer and editor just show me how to edit on iMovie, because I was like, I'm not so great on YouTube, and I know all the principles are sort of the same, but they're a little different, and it's not intuitive to me. So it's something I had to learn, and now I've got it down, and now I get how to do it, and it's just another skill, that I can add to my resume. But I do think it's important for people to try all these new things, see if you have an affinity for it, if you're any good at it, and if you're not, maybe outsource whatever, or find a friend that can do it for you.
Yeah. You can't just, I tell people and encourage people, always be learning something new. Keep your marketable skills up to date, because your stable job may not be the stable job you think it is. Or
right.
You've been sharing some of your opinions about this whole Sinclair deal. So Sinclair is the owner of lots of local TV stations, and recently they had all the anchors read the same thing about basically warning people about fake news and to contact them if viewers felt that the content was not fair and balanced.
Yeah.
What do you think about this whole situation where you do have, station employees being told by station management and higher ups, to do things like that?
Well, I mean, it was a little interesting. I mean, to me, it I don't know. I think, wasn't it Deadspin that was the one that put together this compilation video of all these different anchors and reporters reading the exact same script. So obviously it looked scripted. It looked robotic. It looked like it came down from on high that, it's a dangerous time we live in, or whatever it was that they were saying. And I don't know, it made a lot of people uncomfortable, because it told them that, there are people that they're told what to say. That's the bottom line. They're told what to say, and then they have to say it. And I guess there are some stations that refuse to do it, which, that's interesting. I mean, that actually, I think, gives them maybe a little bit more integrity than doing it. But I know that, these major corporations, they want their hands on your social media. I had one company ask me for my password to my Instagram account.
You're like, what? No.
I'm like, they're like, oh, we just want your analytics and stuff. And I'm like, why? I mean, how does that help me at all? I don't know. I mean, it made me a little uncomfortable because, of course, some people use it for messaging. And I mean, there are private messages on there that I shouldn't have to give anybody my private information, but I know that people are giving up that information because they want to keep their jobs. They're like, oh.
Yeah. And I can tell you from coming from the TV side, that sort of thing is not even just a Sinclair thing. Lots of station ownership groups, kind of dictate from the top what happens.
Right.
And that's something that the employees have very little control over. I just talked to my friend Joe Gervin, who was a sports guy, and he was sharing how his personal life was pretty limited by his employer. And that can be a little scary, but at the same time, I also want to tell people and encourage people to always give yourself an exit plan. Like if you do get fired, or if your job becomes very unbearable, or if you do disagree with your employer and you want to get out, there are things you can do to make the situation a little bit better for yourself, like saving up a lot of money so that you're not in a bad financial situation. And also a coworker years ago, which is something you're obviously doing, a coworker advised me, is like, always have several hustles going on at once.
Yeah. I think that's become the new normal, or what should be. And, I've encouraged colleagues or former colleagues of mine. I'm like, get a nice microphone, you have your laptop, get the equipment you need to do voice work or whatever, so that you don't have those golden handcuffs on, which I did. I was like, I can't quit. Yeah, I could have. I should have, actually, but I didn't think I could, because you get yourself used to living a certain lifestyle with whatever money you're making. And then if you take a job that pays you less, it's like, it's a hard thing to get out of. Yeah. Now I'm like watching Netflix documentaries on minimalism, and I'm like, I don't need a place to live, whatever, who cares?
Like, I don't need a car lease. I'm good.
Yeah.
I think there's something to that. When you're in the situation, it feels hopeless. Like you feel like you're trapped. But I think when you're on the other side, you do realize you have a voice, and you can make choices.
Right.
And that's what I would tell people who are worried about things like the Sinclair situation is, there are some things you can't control on that side, but the things that are within your control, do something about it. Make sure you have other skills that you can get out of the business if you want to. For instance, I have been working on a YouTube channel for 3 years. And it's at that point that I was finally starting to make any sort of money to be able to make a transition.
Right.
Had I not done that, I wouldn't be in this situation. I wouldn't even be talking to you right now.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. Yeah. Like, I mean, with voiceover and HSN, I'm not an overnight success in any regard with TV or radio or anything like that. I've been doing this for years. And so, like, when I posted the stuff about HSN, going on there for the first time, obviously I was very excited and everything, but or even if I've posted a video from being at West End or a picture, people think they're just going to make one phone call and don't realize or appreciate the money and the time that I've invested for years, just trying to make this happen. So that's why I always tell people, like, start now. Because like you said, you need all those side hustles to really sustain yourself and your career, so that they know they don't gotcha. You know what I mean? That you're not, I don't know, that you have the ability to support yourself.
Yeah.
No matter who has gotcha.
And if you start your side hustle after you've left your job, again, it's going to take time to build up. So you have to start it now. Yeah, you have to do something on the side, have some other plan B or something. But to the people in broadcasting, this is a very tumultuous time. And TV's going through a lot of what radio has already gone through, which is the loss of relevance to new media outlets.
Exactly.
A lot of people are getting their news from the Philip DeFranco show on YouTube. And,
I've never even heard of him, but, or Facebook, you know what I mean?
It's crazy.
Yeah. They're not turning on the nightly news the way that they used to, I think, Yeah. So it is interesting. You're so right about, it's not just even relevance. It's just the sheer number of different places where people are getting their news. It's crazy.
So, well, Corey, this has been so much fun.
Thank you.
Do you have, all right. So when I ask, what are you working on now? Where can people find you if they want to follow you online?
Well, CoreyDillon.com, and there's links to all my different social media, not all of them, but most of them, all the biggest ones, social media accounts. And it populates all the different stuff that I'm posting from YouTube and Pinterest, my drink and food recipes that I'm loving. But Twitter and all that stuff. And, I've really found a love for Twitter too, but I know that the lifespan of any tweet is like 10 minutes. Yeah. So things tend to live a little bit longer if they take off on Facebook. And Instagram too. I love it, but I've become a little bit more, I can't think of the word right now, a little bit more discerning about what I put on Instagram. It's like, because you'll see people, a selfie every day or whatever. I try to make sure it's a good picture or something that tells a story or whatever it is, because I don't just want to put up anything there, because it lives forever and becomes, part of your brand. But yeah, I just today, like I said, I spoke to the West Shore Tampa Rotary. Then I went to WFLA. So I'll be on Friday, the TV show, daytime at 10 a.m.
You're all over the place. And we can see you on TMZ, which I love TMZ.
Yeah, that's supposed to be Friday. And then the HSN thing, I have a meeting on Friday. I don't know when that product's going to air, but those things can change. So I don't want to give any dates.
Very cool.
But yeah, and voiceover, I just did a voiceover for, it's like a doctor's co-op or whatever that's going to air, I think, in an arena in LA at some point and Tampa. So I don't know. There's just the wheels and the plates are spinning like in the air like this constantly. So I don't know. We'll see. And radio or some other new media outlet, who knows? I'm hopeful that 2018 brings that big gig, that dream job, whatever it might be.
Seriously, thank you so much for talking to me. And if you're watching out there and you're like developing an app and you need a voice, call Corey. She's amazing. And, if you want someone to be the voice of your, home device or maybe app or some sort of electronic, I think Corey would be perfect. So I'm just trying to, maybe if you're the Silicon Valley type, who knows? But
you got a great audience, by the way.
Yes.
Your numbers, good stuff.
So I'm so excited for you. And seriously, I am so all week I've been looking forward to talking to you. So
me too. Seriously, because I've seen what you've done, and you're one of those people that gets it, where the attention is going. And I think it's so smart.
And I've tried, and I will tell you this, I wasted a lot of my 20s doing absolutely nothing. I really regret it. And I tell people now, do not waste the time you have. I don't know what I was doing in my 20s, but it was nothing productive.
Like all of us.
Yeah, I didn't start to get my act together until 30s when after I got married, and my husband's like, actually my husband was the one who was like, you should, he told me I should start sewing. So, sometimes someone else makes you a better person, I guess. And
it just gives you the idea.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily know what's out there unless you're exposed to it.
Yeah. And I just lacked direction. And it was, so if you're out there and you're younger and you're not sure what to do with your life, try out different things. And if you have a day job, don't, keep exploring other passions and doing other things. Like it would be easy for, again, the people who may want to get out of TV news. Are you actively trying to develop something else, or are you just coming home and turning on the TV,
Right.
Nothing wrong with that, but is that going to get you to where you want to be?
Yeah, it's hard. I have, people close to me, I'll just say that they have a family at home now, and they're stuck in a job they hate, and, their wife won't let them quit their job. That wouldn't be good for the family, obviously. And, but like you said, you really have to just focus on something you're passionate about. If you want to be in advertising for some sports company, like an REI or something like that, take your GoPro or your cell phone out skiing or whatever it is and build your own thing. Just do it because you want to do it and for fun to show your family and friends. But guess what? Along the way, you'll also be building up your resume.
Exactly. Well, Corey, again, thank you so much. And I want to give you the opportunity to ask this audience who's watching any question you want. If you have you're doing market research or, and maybe something rolling in the back of your mind that you've always just wondered about.
I don't know. Maybe ask them, they're watching your channel and they're watching our interview. I don't know. Where do they think the next big thing is coming for media?
I like that. Like the next big
that's going to look like.
Okay. I really like, that's actually one of my favorite questions, I think.
Oh, good. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Well, again,
pressure's on.
we are talking to radio and TV and social media legend, Corey Dillon, who lives in the Tampa Bay area. And I'm going to link all of Corey's social media stuff below. So Please check Corey out, follow her. And also, if you are looking for a voice talent, give her a call. I'm Jennifer Moore, ex-TV producer, your guide to the media industry, and I will see you guys next time.
Thank you, Jen.